All right, all right, all right. Yeah, guys, today is a good day, another good day the Lord have made. Yeah, we must thank Him for everything. God is great. Right. Okay, guys, remember, where did I stop yesterday? I've given you examples on how to calculate the gross profit, the net profit, right? I've given you a typical example. For example, yeah, if you are given an exercise in the exam whereby you've been asked to calculate the sales, or if the sales have been given to you, then you got the fixed cost, right? And you got the cost of sales, you should be able to calculate the gross profit as well as the net profit. So I've done that. If you're still having problems in understanding that, so you watch the YouTube carefully, then you can be able to comprehend and do some exercises on your own. Right. Guys, what is the random movement all about? Right. Is this thing still working? I hope, yeah. Hello, who is this? Sit down. Sit down. Please sit down quietly. You're on air now, right? Sit down. Okay, guys, today I'm going to take another step further by introducing to you or demonstrating to you, as you may deem it fit, how to calculate gross profit percentage. Gross profit percentage. Right. Gross profit percentage. How to calculate gross profit percentage. Let me reflect back what we've done. We've I've shown you how to calculate gross profit, right? Okay. Then how to calculate net profit, right? I've told you the difference between the fixed cost and the variable cost, right? True of us. Fixed cost and variable cost. We've done it. Right. Now, we are going to learn today how to calculate gross profit percentage. Gross profit percentage is always uh, is expressing profit or gross profit in percentage of the sales, as a percentage of sales. Let me put it that way. Gross profit percentage is a way of expressing gross profit, right? The percentage of sales, right? So what it means is gross profit divided by sales times 100 over 1. Does it make sense to you? Right. Hello. Focus. As a brief silent civil play. Right. So gross profit is expressed as a percentage in this form mathematically. Gross profit divided by sales times 100 over 1. As I explained to you previously, without using a calculator, you can work this thing out mentally, right? This zero cancel this zero. I told you that was how we were taught those days when I was in primary school. So I'm still using that system. Amen. All right, I'm gonna wipe off this thing now. So you express it as a percentage, right? So I'm going to take it slowly because I know some of you don't have a basic background in mathematics, right? Okay, we say gross profit profit percentage, I can write it like this, right? Equals gross profit over sales times 100 over 1. Right. For example, if the gross, okay, how do you calculate gross profit? As we said, let's say given, right? Given, right? Sales 10,000, right? Cost of sales. If I say COS, it means cost of sales, right? Then let's say I have 6K, right? Fixed cost, let's say 2,000, right? So from here now, you can be able to calculate gross profit as well as net profit, right? Yeah. So, sorry? No, I want to first of all calculate gross profit, then later calculate gross profit percentage. I'm working backward now. Try to reflect back to reflect what? This one is 100. You call it, though this one is saying 100, but the way I was taught those days in mathematics, when you say 100 over 1 or 100, it's the same. But to make it look proportional, right? That is why we always say 100 over 1. I see most people, they don't put it over 1, right? It's still the same, right? Yeah, this was how we were taught those days in mathematics, right? This one, this is, we call this numerator, right? We call this one denominator, right? Numerator times numerator, denominator, yeah, all those kind of concepts, right? I can still remember. I did those things how many years ago, long time ago, right? So here is the formula, right? So what you need to do is you substitute the values into the formula. We call it substitution, right? Here is easy. Gross profit, if I'm to calculate it here, you say sales, what is 10K, right? 10,000, good money, right? Then cost of sales, you say less, right? Less or minus cost of sales. What is the cost of sales? 6K, right? 6,000. Then this one will be gross profit, which is 4K, 4,000. Okay, let me leave it like this. Right? For you to calculate the net profit, then you say less fixed expenses, fixed expenses, right? Which is 2K, 2,000. So what is the leftover? 2,000, right? Correct. So this one will be the net profit in this context. Does it make sense to you? Is it clear? Hello, focus. Is it clear? Right? Are you with me? I haven't done the percentage. Right? So now the gross profit percentage, maybe I have to switch off this thing meanwhile, right? So that you can see clearly, right? What do you think? Okay, right. The gross profit percentage, it goes like this. Now, let's substitute. Hello, focus, assembly, voilà, s'il vous plaît. Right. The gross profit percentage. What is the gross profit there? Huh? Okay. By substitution, those days when I was doing mathematics, this is how our teacher told us. He said, you must explain. When you write like this, the examiner will give you the full marks. They will be impressed, right? By substitution. Substitution. You're going to say, this implies. This is how I used to do my maths those days with science, and I was getting it correctly. This implies, what do you have there? 4,000, right? 4,000 over says 10,000, right? Times 100. I always say over 1, right? That was the way I was taught, right? So here we got simple way of resolving it through cancellation. Young, our teacher used to say, 0 cancel 0, this 0 cancel 0, this 0 cancel this 0, this 0 cancel this 0. Yeah. Yeah. That is how we were taught those days in the elementary school. Then what is remaining? 4, then 10. 4 times 10 equals 40%. Without you using a calculator. That is how we were taught. Uh. Is it? It's not magical. Yeah. Is, are you confused? Huh? Okay, you can use your calculator to work it out. You use your calculator. You use your calculator. Right. Use your calculator to work it. And tell me the answer. Huh? It's not 40. How can it be 400? It's not 400, it's 40%. It's 40%. Hello, work out this thing for me. Huh? Huh? Where? This one is there. Remember, we got multiplication here. Where? This one. This one. Huh? Which one? Huh? What is your calculation saying? 40%. Okay. Okay, come. Come.
But you want to know why we take this 4 and multiply by this 10, but you also have this one here.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. Now it could be because you're on air now, don't worry. It's gonna be 4, right? Over 1. Listen, come here. You see, 4 over 1 times 10 over 1, which is equal to 40 over 1. 1 divided by 40 is 40. Right? No, I cannot be. You understand this stuff? Yeah, but in the exam, don't do it like this because you're gonna waste your time. You use your calculator. Huh? You use your calculator. Do you understand? You use your calculator. Right. Listen, what you need to understand, guys, use your calculator. You don't need to go through all this stuff. Look, you don't need to go through all this long process. You just capture it in your calculator, then it will give you the answer. All right? Okay, now the net profit, right? Just as we have here. Let me first of all show you the one we got here, then we go and calculate our own. There are a lot of calculations that we need to do here. This thing is slowing down now. Okay, why is it showing my stuff now? Where's guys? Remember that. Okay, don't make noise, please. Guys, look at it. Net profit percentage is the same. Net profit, now you're not gonna use a gross profit, right? You use the value for net profit. Divide by 6 times 100 over 1. For this example in your book, right? You got 300 divided by 1000 times 100, right? Okay, which is 30%. Okay, now what I want you to do for me, you work out this one for me. Work out the net profit percentage based on the values that you got there. Can you do it? Okay, the net profit percentage for this example. Follow this method. Follow this method. Yeah, you see our net profit. Our sales is 10,000, right? Yeah, work it out quickly. Quickly. Right. Okay, without wasting much time, who can do it with a calculator quickly? It's gonna be 2 over 2000, right? 2000 over 10,000 times, it's gonna be 50%. Okay, is it 50? 2,000 divided by 10,000 times 100 over 1. Yeah. Huh? 200. It can't be 200, man. 10,000 times 100. 20. Yeah, because you're gonna reduce. Okay, you see, the net profit percentage gonna be less than the gross profit because certain amount of money has been removed. So if you calculate this one to be 40%, your net profit cannot be more than that. You see? So yeah, you say you got 20%, right? Yeah. So that is how to calculate it. Right? Okay. Okay. Can we move? Okay. Now, um, You have what we call weighted average gross percentage. Weighted average gross percentage. This one, right? Weighted average gross profit percentage. This one is a little bit trickish, but you just need to listen very well, right? Listen very well because it's nated. In nated program, they are doing something like this, right? Yeah, this is something exactly like this. You know what we are doing now? It's exactly what they are doing in EBM, entrepreneurship and business management at nated level. Yeah. So if you know, understand this thing very well, by the time you get to that level, I'm telling you, you're gonna be big boss, master of all. Okay, guys, remember gross profit percentage. We want to know, right? How much when you've paid your variable costs, right? How much is left over, right? Gross profit percentage. So the first one we did is for one item, right? You know, when you've got a business, you are not only selling one item. You're not only selling one product, perhaps. For example, you've got a tax shop. You are selling different articles. You are selling different products, right? Perhaps some product will be moving more than the other. I don't know whether you get a picture of what I'm trying to say. Okay, let me give you a typical, a hypothetical example, if you will. Let's say you got a shop, right? You're selling bread. You're selling sugar. Okay, let's say you're selling bread. You're selling let's say biscuit or sugar, any other thing, right? Now, if you want to calculate your gross profit for one item, you use the previous example that we give, right? So this one, where do you, or where does this one becomes useful? For example, you're selling different products. Some are moving more than the other. That means they are buying some, the rate at which you sell one product is higher than the other. Right. You cannot use that previous one that we did before. Then you have to use this one because this one will combine the products together. That is why we call it a weighted average gross profit percentage. Right. You take the gross profit percentage for one item based on the sales, right? Then you add it to the other one, then you get the average. That is why we call it weighted. Does it make sense to you? It's on page 17. See what you have here. It says calculating the gross profit of a business that is selling more than one product, as I said, explain to you, is not so easy, right? The markup may vary from product to product. You know what I mean by markup, right? The markup. Listen, this gross profit, right, percentage is the markup, right? Remember, this is the cost of sales, right? This is the cost of sales. How much you buy the product. Listen carefully what I'm trying to explain now, right? It's confusing, but if you listen to me very well, you will be able to discern and know which is which, right? This one is how much you pay to buy the product, or how much you're gonna pay the supplier that supply you the product, right? Then you are not going to sell it at this amount. Do you understand what I mean? Because you need to make money, right? You need to make a profit. You need to be able to pay for your expenses, right? Then you have to put something on top. That is what we call markup. Do you understand what I mean? So your markup can either be expressed as in rand, or maybe, or you can express it in a percentage. Now here you see this is your gross profit, right? Then you are selling it at this price, which is 10,000, which means you have added 4,000 to this 6,000 to arrive at your sales. So your markup here now is this, right? Then your markup percentage is what we've calculated, 40%. Do you understand what I mean? Right? Because if you say 40%, right, of your sales is 4,000, right? Then you add 4,000 to your cost price, then you say 6,000. Then 4,000 plus 6,000 will give you 10,000. Does it make sense to you? Right. Okay, work out something like this for me. Say 6,000, right? Times 1, okay, 100 divided by 140. Can you work out this one for me? Let me see. Calculator. Huh? Or put this one here. Say 140, right? Say 100. Let's see. I don't want to confuse you. I just want to check out this. Okay, 8,400. Okay. Let me not confuse you with this. But you understand what is markup? Whatever you put on top of your cost price, right? To get your selling price is your markup. Does it make sense to you? Right. Okay. Now, let's go back to our weighted average gross profit percentage. Now, do you understand the concept why you need to use this formula rather than using the straightforward one, which is for only one item? Right? For example, when you look at here now, you got different markup. This one have got a markup of 29%. This one have got a markup of 33%. Then sales, in terms of sales, this one is of higher sales, right, turnover than this. So when you have product of this nature in your shop, if you want to calculate the gross profit, you don't use that straightforward one because that one is for only one item. One item, the markup, right, is the same. It doesn't change. Then the sales is the same percentage. But this one, you got different product, right? The gross profit percentage, the markup is different. And the sales, the turnover is different. So for you to be able to calculate the gross profit percentage, you have to weight. It has to be weighted. That is why you need to use the weighted average gross profit percentage, right? As you have it in the book here, it said the markup may vary from product to product. I've explained to you what is markup. For example, you're selling bread and sugar, right? Now, let's say the markup for bread could be made with 20%, right? You add 20% to the cost price of your bread to sell it at a certain amount, right? You add that to, you put bread because you know that bread, people are buying it every time. You want to depend on the turnover, right? If the turnover is high, even if the profit margin is low, you're still gonna make good money. Like I explained to you, the methodology, right? The of ShopRite. I told you ShopRite profit margin is very low. Why they are making money is because of the turnover, right? Because people are coming to buy. They buy, they sell, they buy, they sell. So based on that turnover, irrespective of the low rate of the profit margin, they are still making money, right? So when you see a product that this is a kind of a market strategy. When you see a product that people are buying quickly every time, don't put a high profit margin. Do you understand what I mean? Because you're still gonna make money. You want to encourage them to buy. You put a low profit margin, then you're gonna still make money. So if you see a product that people are not buying, perhaps you can put a high profit margin, right? So let's say you are selling two items. One got a low profit margin, the other one got different profit margin. And you know, based on the turnover, you got one that is of higher turnover than the other. So you want to establish now your weighted uh, average gross profit, right? So because it's not only one product now, you're not gonna use the previous formula. You must combine the two together. That is what we are trying to do here. Does it make sense to you? Do you get the picture of what I'm explaining? Huh? You got it? Okay. Then your book says this means that a specific product share of the total sales. Right. When you look at this product now, right? Milk and bread, for example, the two products. The total sale of this product, these two, is 100%, right? Then the one for the milk is 65%. That means, and the one for bread is 35%. That means these two items that this business is selling, one is moving faster than the other, which is the milk, 65%. Does it make sense to you? Then the bread is 35%. So in terms of the markup of the owner of the business, right? You see, the one that is selling faster, he put a lower profit margin. Right, like I explained to you, when the turnover is high, even if your profit margin is little, you can still make good money because they are coming to buy every time. As they are coming every time, you're making money. You see what I mean? Okay, you see the bread, you put a higher profit margin, right? And again, the profit margin could still be a function of the cost price. Do you understand? Because if you are calculating a profit margin, there are a lot of things that you look at. For example, if I'm doing a tender, tender, right? If you ask me to supply an item, for example, if I know that the cost of that item is very high, you don't put there, say, when you look at the profit margin, you estimate, say, okay, if I put a higher profit margin, perhaps at the end of the day, the price is going to be too much. Those are the things you need to play with. You need to play around with. You work out the dynamics. If the profit margin is high, how much the price is gonna be, right? Remember, when you are formulating your price, it should be within the range of the market, right? Market-related rate. Yours must not be ridiculous more than the ruling market price. Does it make sense to you? So now the gross profit percentage, which is in other words, we call the margin, the markup here is 29%. This one is 33%. So what you do now, this is what we are mostly concerned with because these ones will be given, right? You are not to calculate this, it will be given. If it is an exam question, you will be given all this, right? So what you need to preoccupy yourself with is the calculation here, which is easy, straightforward, right? So what you need to do is say 65%, right? 65% over 100, right? Times this, then you get, you see how it is done. 1 times 2, 1 times 2, then you get this. Then the same thing, then you add, you get the gross weighted average gross profit percentage, right? So is the time over? Okay, you try to use your calculator to see whether you're gonna get it. Right? Play around with this. Tomorrow I'm gonna talk more. Right? Gonna talk more to this slide I mean, to make sure that you understand very well. Right? It's not difficult. Right? In the exam, you are going to be given all these things. So you just need to calculate that and work out the weighted. Right. So yeah, we are moving. Once we're done with this, then we're gonna look at the budget. We're gonna look at the break even, right? Yeah. Once you understand this, it's gonna be very easy for you to understand the break even, right? The break even aspect, you're gonna be able to understand it much more easier. Right.